Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Premiership Podcast. We are your host, Jacob.
And Elijah.
Let's get crack-a-lacking into something different. We're going to be talking about the mid-season draft before we get into the second round of the Indigenous round, which is round 11. So you go with it, Elijah. The mid-season draft.
Yeah. Okay. So, actually happened right before we started recording this. So first pick, West Coast. They ended up with Ryan Marich, from Gippsland Power. Pretty good pick. I mean, I don't think either of us know a whole lot about most of these guys. So we'll just keep running through it. Second pick.
From what I know, he's a tall player. He's a tall player, correct?
He is, yeah. Yeah.
Well, if he can live up to his last name, Ivan Maric was quite the unique specimen at Richmond and Adelaide. But let's see if Ryan Maric can do something for West Coast and their somewhat deteriorating list of injuries and experience. He's going to be a good pick for them, I reckon.
Well, I don't think they're related at all. But I did see he played before Box Hill, I think. So
Oh, beautiful.
he looks pretty good there, to what I know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think it's another player on the list for the Eagles. They just need bodies at this point. But yeah,
much needed.
Anyway,
Robert Hanson Jr. from Subiaco going to North Melbourne, pick 2. Don't know much about this guy either. All I know is that he's a small forward.
mm-hmm.
Clay Tucker, pick 3 for our Hawks. Don't know much about him either. But from the Eastern Rangers, so that's a pretty good pickup. Richmond selected at pick 4 Matt Colthard from Glenelg. Not sure about him either. A lot of these players are sort of random players that we've never heard of, which we'll hope will get their experience in footy, sort of like the Pass brothers for GWS. The Pass brothers, then GWS didn't select anyone, but they selected the Pass brothers. They're going to be great for GWS.
I think they wanted Clay Tucker, who ended up going to Hawthorn pick 3, but they just they missed out and they did not to do. I think.
So they went on the Pass brothers.
Yeah, a bit unlucky.
So Greater Western Sydney with pick 5 and what was it, pick 14 didn't select anyone. Oh. All right, you go forward with it, Elijah.
Okay. Pick 6, Sydney, from Brisbane, the VFL side, Harry Arnold. Pick 7, Geelong, Mitch Hardy from Woodville West Torrens. Pick 8, Fremantle, Ethan Stanley from the Box Hill Hawks. Pick 9, Essendon, Jaden Hunter from Perth. Then we get a couple of ex-AFL players coming in. So pick 10, the Bulldogs select Caleb Poulter from Footscray. Good to see him back. And then pick 11. Pick 11, Port Adelaide get Quinton Narkle from the Essendon VFL. Used to play for Geelong.
It's so good to see Caleb Poulter and Quinton Narkle get another opportunity at the big time. I feel like these two players had worth when they were playing in the AFL, especially Quinton Narkle, sort of a player who was in and out at Geelong and didn't really get opportunity to spark and show his athleticism and really grow in the AFL system. Caleb Poulter from Knowledge played 1 year, and that was during the COVID year. And in his second year, he was just a VFL listed player with Collingwood, even though he was listed with the AFL. He just played VFL games. So it's good to see these two blokes get more opportunity, which they do deserve, because in our opinions, we feel as though they were quite decent players. Isn't that right, Elijah?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more impressed, honestly, with Caleb Poulter. Personally, I prefer him over Quinton Narkle, but I mean, I think they both do really well coming back. I'm not sure why Caleb Poulter was dropped originally in the first place. I know that Narkle on form was gone, but I was very surprised at the moment Poulter left.
Mm,
But anyway, he's back now. Different colours. Collingwood, yeah, the Bulldogs.
mm.
But yeah, happy to see them back.
In the second round of the mid-season draft, Hawks picked a local boy for us, Elijah, ADFL Maribyrnong player Brandon Ryan, who also played at the Northern Bullants as a key forward. Richmond have selected at pick 13, I'm going to butcher this name, James Trezise from the Richmond VFL. So they select someone from their own home and grown. Pick 14, like we said, the other past brother. And Sydney selected Jack Buller at Claremont. So the mid-season draft, how did you see it sort of go with the teams that selected the
Uh,
players?
I think they're okay. Adds a bit more depth to, I guess, the
Mm,
higher end teams like Port Adelaide adding Narkle. That's some really good depth
mm,
just to have. Um, and even the Bulldogs as well. I think Poulter looked really
mm,
well there. Um, and I guess especially for again Hawthorn, you're getting some good, more local depth.
mm,
Coming through, and even for lower teams like West Coast, even you're getting just more bodies. Honestly,
mm.
I know Ryan Marriage is a very good player, but yeah, it's just good to have another good player around there to hopefully,
Now,
yeah, push the game
mm,
forward.
now the only question I have for you, due to players becoming homesick, there's two players that I like to point out for you, and they are, let's see here. There's one from Box Hill, yeah, Ethan Stanley from Box Hill has gone to Fremantle, and Jaden Hunter from Perth is going to the Bombers. So it's interesting to see that these teams select um, players from different states. Do you reckon they'll get homesick or will get the opportunity to shine in the big time, or do you think they'll get homesick and sort of dwell below the surface?
Well, even the first two picks are interstate picks as well.
Mm.
Marriage, Gippsland
Oh,
slash
very
Box
true.
Hill, and then
Subiaco.
to West Coast, and then Robert Hanson Jr. from Subiaco down to North Melbourne. But I don't think it's
Yep.
gonna make much of a difference. I given a lot of these guys just a
Mm-hmm.
chance, and I reckon you'll
Mm.
take that chance any day of the week than sitting in the VFL or wherever else,
Mm.
Waffle, Sandful, for another year or 6 months. So I reckon they'll take that and they'll roll with it. I don't think it's gonna be a problem. Maybe flash forward a few years, maybe, but I don't see a
Mm-hmm.
problem honestly.
They're doing something they're passionate about, so I see where you're coming from, Elijah.
Yeah.
But on to the round that was round 11. We'll start off with Adelaide versus Lions on the Sunday, the last game of the round where the Crows got up against the Lions.
They did the second Indigenous round, Sudoku Tingles round. Um,
Mm.
but Adelaide, very impressive performance at home,
Mm.
knocking off the second team on the ladder, the
Mm.
Lions, traveling down to Adelaide. Uh, this is a very competitive game from the Crows, and they showed
Mm.
they can stick it up to the top sides, which is very,
Mm.
very good to see from a young team like them. Um, Our usual suspects: Dawson, Laird, Keys, O'Brien. Good games as you'd expect. Um, you know, it's just great all round, really.
Mm.
Um, yeah. What did you make out
I
of this one?
the two players that really stood out to me were was Isaac Rankin and Rochelle. They're two
Yeah,
young, exciting small forwards, and Adelaide have the most exciting forward line in the competition at the moment. In terms of where they can go with it. The only area of struggle, in my opinion, would be their defense. They've got a fantastic midfield. Not Rory Laird, Rory Sloane is arguably back to his tip-top best after his ACL, playing on that wing. But yeah, like there's nothing much I can say, but the only worry I have for the Crows is their defense. In terms of what the Lions brought to the table in this game, I didn't personally watch it that much. I did watch the highlights. Um, it was just really competitive, and Adelaide just took it up to the Lions a bit more compared to what the Lions took up to the Crows. The Crows were just a better team on the day.
I guess that's a fair judgment. I think Crows just played really, really well. I don't think
Mm,
defensively they were that poor. I mean, yeah, Cameron kicked 4 goals. Cool.
mm,
But I mean, you force inside 50, and I guess the disposals efficiency total, Crows just ran them out of the ground. Um,
mm,
70 to 63% disposal efficiency in the Crows' way,
mm,
and inside 50, you had the Crows at 55% and the Lions at 41. So
mhm,
that's inside 50. You'd expecting a bit more from the Lions.
mm,
Honestly, how the dynamic works down there, I think, concerned around Danaher, I think I've seen bit of a worry. But that's
mhm.
27 shots from 66 inside 50. That are making
Fair
it there.
enough.
So yeah, you can get goals from some guys, but I think as a collective, I'm not
Mm,
sure what's going on. I think this is definitely an indicator of where the Crows are more than the Lions.
mm.
Yeah.
No, the only reason I say that is maybe because they don't have big names as as a defensive cohort, but I stand corrected. The Crows
They're
do
Dawson.
have a very uh, minus Dawson. Um, they I stand corrected. They do have a very good defense, as proven by my colleague here. On to the next
Yeah.
game.
Okay. That was on the Sunday. Though staying on the Sunday, a bit earlier in the day, we
Mhm.
got the Richmond Tigers at the MCG under new coach,
Mhm.
toppling a bit short to Port Adelaide. 60
Richmond were competitive.
they were.
Yeah, 67 to 77. Port Adelaide did it again with their Todd Marshall, Dixon, Fantasia, so on and so forth. Um, they're showing great strides in depth for their forward line. But how do you take this game, Elijah?
It was a lot more even than I expected, to be honest.
Mm,
I mean, pretty much until the last minute, it was very clearly Port Adelaide. The scoreline will say differently. Um,
mm,
but Richmond definitely put it up to them. I'm very
mm,
impressed with their performance against a team which we've rated very highly, and they're on a very good
mm,
win streak, and they're in very good form. So,
mm,
I mean, a couple of things, I guess. The efficiency in front of goal. I mean,
mm,
Richmond's 9-13, and Port Adelaide is 10-17. Not ideal.
mm,
You'd rather other way around, and you'd expect it other way
mm,
around. But
mm,
um, I think Richmond's a good performance. Taranto, he
mm,
had 4 goals, um, 33 disposals, 6 marks, 7 tackles. Um, and you had guys all across the ground. Dan Curvis still looking good, still recovering in the side. Overall, I think pretty good performance from Richmond. Um,
mm,
but yeah, Port Adelaide still hanging in there. They're still all on their roll. Yeah.
mm. I've got nothing much to say about this game, but Richmond do have a base to work with moving forward. Even if they aren't making finals this year, they have a group that they can work with, especially in the reserves as well coming up. But
Yeah.
mm,
The I guess would ideally work with more of the younger guys too. The older
mm,
guys you're kind of slowly moving away from. Um, new coach, new system, yada yada.
mm.
They'll be fine.
Will Dusty finish his career at Richmond?
I don't see why not. I mean, give me a reason why they would offload him to another team. I don't know. I can't see one. If anything, he's probably
Um,
going to retire, whenever he feels, really. But
mm.
I don't see a reason for him to move.
he's done plenty for the game. I just put that comment out due to I feel like he is still passionate about footy. He's always been passionate about footy. A big family man as well, as we know. Um, but I think it's unlikely, but I do have a gut feeling that he could move interstate to enjoy his final 1 to 2 years playing footy.
Well,
That's
I
just my
that's fair enough.
mm,
I don't even know if he has 2 years. I reckon he's done and dusted here.
cooked.
Almost. I mean,
Mm,
he's definitely on the decline.
mm,
And really, if you think about it, he's kind of almost just a role player on the team
mm,
almost until what 2017, and then he had
mm.
like a good 2 year stretch where he just was the best player in the comp. No one could touch him, and now he's just fallen off again.
Arguably 5
I
years, 2017 to 2021,
for 5 years, no way.
or
Oh,
4 years.
shot.
You reckon?
Like
Fair enough.
2017, 2018, maybe 2019. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
How about 2020? He won an Norm Smith there as well.
Yeah, he's the best player in the grand final.
Mm,
But as an overall production across the season, no, not at all. He's nowhere near the best player in that team.
fair enough.
Yeah, and even now, I don't think I put him in the top 10 players in that squad.
Fair enough.
So I honestly feel like Dusty's a bit overhyped. He's good in that very short stretch. It's what,
Mm.
three? I'd argue less than 3 years, but
So you'd argue that a player like Scott Pendlebury is slightly better than Dusty Martin
I'd
due
say a
to
lot.
longevity.
If you're talking about overall greatness, like GOAT debate kind of talk,
Mm,
absolutely. I'd say Pendlebury is way better than Dusty.
mm,
Dusty's your highest peak by a short amount of time.
mm-hmm.
Whereas Pendlebury is a lot of, I would say success, but high performance across a longer period of time.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that.
it's like saying Derrick Rose is the GOAT over LeBron. It's like, yeah, he could, well, had a couple good seasons. Well, I guess Derrick Rose
Mm,
has one, but it's very short compared to LeBron, who's been dominating for the better part of nearly 20 years.
mm.
So, yeah.
I agree with that notion, Elijah. On to the next game.
Yeah. Going back a bit, we'll shuffle the games around a bit. Gold Coast upsetting the Bulldogs in Darwin,
Mm,
84-77. This
mm,
was a ripper, from what we've seen, but the Suns,
mm.
they're biting a bit and they're chewing it.
They're really saving Stewie Dew's career at the Gold Coast Suns. Lukosius with, what was it, 4 goals in like 5 kicks, 3 goals and 5 kicks in a quarter was insane. Um, but yeah, Gold Coast just really nailing it in the right moments. Humphrey kicking that final goal. Humphrey's been a fantastic player for them as well, may I just add, as their sole draft pick from last season. From the last draft, sorry. Um, yeah, they held down, they knuckled down, and usual suspects in Rao, Anderson, Witts playing fantastically. But that's not to mention that the Bulldogs didn't play a great game as well, only losing by that 7 points with Bontempelli, Liberatore. Um, and yeah, it was an insane game down to the very end
Yeah.
up in Darwin.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very impressed with the Suns' effort and they stayed
Mm,
in it the whole time, which we
mm,
love to see because historically, even this season, Suns have not done that.
mm,
So I think Stewie G, very, very good coaching and credit to the good guys who've stayed in there.
mm,
I mean, yeah, usual suspects doing great. Question for you. Is
mm.
Tim English still the clear favourite for like best ruckman in the comp? Because we know that he still does the 1%ers which don't get stats. He does all
Mm.
those. But is he still as productive to say that he's clearly the best ruck in the comp? Or are there others in that discussion? Because we've seen in
There
this,
are other.
yeah, it was in this game. I mean, Jared
Mm,
Witts had 51 hitouts to English's 22,
mm.
for example. Like, is that an indicator of maybe not as clearly dominant as the start of the season? Um, yeah,
I'd like to say that Tim English is better at different things compared to Wits. They're two different players, but at the same time, you are a ruckman. You're expected to have it to the advantage of your players to attack the goals and moving forward. So for Jared Witts to be winning the hitouts, I'd say is more of an advantage to his team compared to Tim English roaming across the ground and taking marks and kicking it forward. Because at the end of the day, the first contest in a game is that ruck contest, isn't it? So if you can't tap it to the advantage of your players, then you're not gonna move it forward unless it's a normal play of the game from defense going into offense.
yeah,
So I'd like to say that English is still a fantastic player. Wits is a fantastic player as well. Um, but I'd like to say that they are different at completely different things.
that is fair. I mean, just
Mm,
looking at this game as a singular indicator. I
mm,
mean, Witts won 60% of all of his ruck contests, and English
mhm.
30. So up for
No
discussion there.
good.
But I would like to throw out a couple
Mm,
of names. Marshall over at the Saints still doing a pretty good job.
mm,
Um, Reeves recently at Hawthorn's not too bad.
mm.
Carlton, what's his name? Used to be a Hawthorn.
What
Not
was that one?
Segler. Used to be a
Segler.
Hawthorn. No, not Segler. Outright Carlton.
Oh, Pitnet.
Pitnet. Yep, he's been very good. Uh,
He's the best tap rockman in the league at the moment, from what I know.
yeah, definitely, yeah. But I mean, yeah, Suns just outplayed the Bulldogs really. In this game.
Mm,
Um,
I do agree with that,
yeah, I mean,
especially down to the last minute as well.
yeah, I mean, Dogs are
Happy with that
okay,
last
but
goal.
going forward, not as much. So similar story
Mm,
to almost the Lions. Um,
mm,
but yeah, a lot of credit to the Suns. Hopefully, they continue this little streak they've got going.
100%. Really reviving Stewie Dew's role as coach, um, moving into the later years, going towards 2027, getting an extended contract because, as we all know, that the Gold Coast coaches don't really last that long or haven't really produced the goods. Like Rodney Eade was there, and I forgot who their first coach was, but they've had a couple coaches there where they've just not produced. Whereas, say for example, their other te- GWS who joined a year later after them, they've only had two coaches in Len Cameron and now Adam Kingsley. So
Oh, three.
really help three.
Kevin
Sorry,
Sheedy.
yeah, Kevin Sheedy in that first couple of years. So yeah, really revitalizing Stuart Dew's career as a coach as well. They're really saving his career, I feel.
Fair enough. I think it's more to
Mm,
his credit too.
mm,
But anyway, uh,
mm,
on to the next one. Saints falling short to Hawthorn. Now, this is a very, very big upset. Hawks' last
mm,
5 goals of the game, in the last couple of minutes. Cozzy kicking us in front, and then Bruce sealing the deal. Sicily, the general back there,
mm.
keeping the Saints only down to 78. Uh, you know, what do you make of that one? Because I don't know if you watched
I'd
the game, but
I'd like to stick it up to all the haters who think that we were taking at the start of the year. We have a base of where we are building our team, and Caroline Wilson can go stuff herself because she thought that we were tanking. Even during the interview with Sam Mitchell, thought the Hawthorn were tanking, and we've just proven in the past 2 to 3 weeks that we are actually improving as a team and growing as a team, and we're really gelling together a lot more better than what we did at the start of the season. And in terms of this game, I feel like we gelled quite well, especially in that last quarter. We're going to be inconsistent because we are still a young, developing team, but this just shows that we are giving it a fair decent crack.
Yeah, I mean, Hawthorn give it a crack every week. Caroline Wilson did come out
And
on
apologized.
yeah, on podcast side, apologize. In I guess all of their defense, I guess considering other rebuilds historically, I don't think you could argue that Hawthorn put itself in the best place possible to be able
Mm,
to win games and rebuild as successfully as
mm,
possible. So in their defense, it can be seen as a form of tanking.
mm,
Just because not in the best position, and that was our own fault
mm,
putting ourselves there. And the first few games of the season didn't help.
mm,
But starting to get more experience in, we're starting to see more results, which is good.
mm,
How consistent we can put up these performances, don't know. We'll find out. Hopefully, it's sustained success, but you know, we'll find out. Right. So St. Kilda's
mm.
been kind of slowly losing it since the other round. But you know, whether this is an indication of them or more just Hawthorn playing up, I'm not too sure yet.
Mm. I'd like to point at St Kilda here and say they had a similar start last season where they were like 5, 6 straight wins, and then they dropped off and didn't make finals. So I'd like to challenge St Kilda and say keep trying to maintain that momentum and win streak. Yes, you're gonna inevitably lose games, but getting more wins on the board against those lesser teams like Hawthorn, even though it's a fantastic win for us, will be. Um, St Kilda need to fight off their demons and really just say, we can do this, we can win this, even though we do have injuries behind us. There are teams worse off than us, such as West Coast, and
It's a low bar.
really attack to make finals and really get some final success because I feel like the Saints are really it's been a long minute since they've um won a premiership, and it's been a minute since they've been in a grand final.
Uh, yeah. I mean, 27 wasn't that
Mm,
long
20
ago, but yeah,
still a minute in AFL terms.
I guess, yeah. Um, Talking about Hawthorn a bit more, a lot of guys
Mm,
I'm very impressed with. Mitch Laws, 3 goals, two, very good.
Luke Bruce.
Yeah, he kicked 3 goals too. I'll get to him in a minute. Um, Mitch Laws, really good tall forward target down there. We're missing him when
Mm,
he's been injured. Didn't help with our losses, but having him down there's really helped.
mm,
I mean, just move the ball along, and he's putting in a lot of effort, which is really good to see.
mm,
And with the Crummers too, like Moore wasn't his best game, but he still put himself out there. And all the other smaller guys down the forward line really helps. So
mm.
Mitch Lewis, really good game again. Hopefully we'll continue that into next week and beyond. Luke
Brockman.
Bruce, Luke Bruce,
Oh, Luke Bruce. Yep.
also 3 goals. He's got 499 career goals. So next week against Port, hopefully get goal 500. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Mm,
Uh, that'll be a good moment. He had a great game too.
mm,
Uh, you know, Posey kicked a goal. Moore was pretty good around the ball.
mm,
31 disposals, 9 marks. Even Ned Reeves, yeah,
mm,
pretty good game. Only the singular mark, but he was there when it counted in the ruck, with
mm,
the 29 hitouts. So yeah, pretty good from him. The one player
mm.
I wanted to put above all those though is James Sicily.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
what a gun! Only
42 disposals, was
43
it?
disposals,
43.
16 marks. And to top it off, 1 tackle.
One tackle.
Only one, but really, really solid performance from him. And I'm stoked that he's putting up those kind of performances back there. When he needs it, he goes back, and he's the one pushing the tempo going forward. Whether it's to the corridor, out the wings, wherever which way, switching, he's there. He's the general, and that's what gets us to slingshot out, bang, foot of forward entry, goal, possibly. And that's a really good system to have. And he's putting in the work. We did kick 12 goals, 16 behinds. We won by 10 behinds, but hey, we'll take it. So it should have been more, really. And watching the game, yeah, Hawthorn were the better team, for sure. Anything else?
So I've got nothing else to say, but Hawthorn putting up a fantastic performance against a quality opponent. Onto the next game.
Fair enough. Okay. Melbourne falling a bit short to Fremantle. I remember to watch a bit of this one too. Fremantle, yeah, getting it done by 7 points. 10-12-72 to 12-7-79. Freo just too good. I predicted it, but they're just too good from D's.
Luke Jackson really putting it up against his old team. The player I want to talk about in this game is Miss with the 3 goals. Really deserving of his Rising Star nomination this round. So congratulations to Miss. He's really becoming that key forward that Fremantle needed compared to the era of Matthew Pavlich. Miss was fantastic. And for a young bloke, he's really stepping up. But I'd like to also talk about the Brayshaws. Andrew Brayshaw did a lot of work around the grounds and really thought 5 steps ahead compared to his opponents. Sarong played a fantastic game as well from what I saw. And Luke Jackson, he was fantastic. He's really putting his name up for being that sole ruck now that Sean Darcy is gone. But the question I have for you, Elijah, is the duo of Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson working?
Not really. No. To answer your question, no. And I mean, Sean Darcy will be missing, injured. For not sure how long. But I know. No, it has not been working. But they've found something recently where things clicked. But that's kind of outside of the strict dynamic of those two. So I guess Luke Jackson playing around the ball a bit more. And does taking the ruck. I mean, they're both natural ruckmen. You can't take them away from that role. So I guess Darcy being injured might help Jackson a bit more. Obviously having a bit more of a prominent role in the ruck. As shown to work in this game at least. Not like pretty well. Basically having all that just to himself. But yeah.
It creates a bit of a dilemma, doesn't it, though?
A bit. I think there's been a lot of talk, like, do you move one of them on next year? Maybe Sean Darcy to another club. But yeah, I think they're better off with the one ruck in Luke Jackson. At least for now, they'll have to. But going forward, might have something to consider.
I'd like to go into Melbourne's game. Melbourne's game was still pretty good. It was just the amount of work that they did in the midfield. I feel like Melbourne really lacked without Clayton Oliver, since he's currently injured. Viney played fantastically. Petrarca played fantastically. Cosy Pickett with an amazing goal to start off the game as well. Whether this allows a Melbourne player to step up, I'd like to see Melbourne maybe taking on Luke Dunstan. Luke Dunstan, an ex-St Kilda player who Melbourne traded for. I'd like to see Luke Dunstan get some minutes and maybe even some some youthful players, some exciting players. But I do feel as though Melbourne played well, but the duo for Grundy and Gorn is really showing its weakness at the moment as well.
Fair enough.
Mm,
I mean, you had some good guys who had some good performances, but not a whole lot you can do against all
mm,
of Fremantle's ball movement and that. It was just way too good. Um,
mm,
yeah, I think watching it, just the ball movement really off the half back, along the wings. Fremantle really exposed Melbourne in a lot of different ways, across the ground. You know,
mm,
like they couldn't really deal with Sean Darcy. Petrarca alone, without Oliver there, not a whole lot you can do against Brayshaw and Savrong.
mm,
And even in the back, I mean, a miss at 3 goals. You're getting a rookie to do that against a team which is meant to be
mm,
fighting for a premiership. Come on. But
mm.
yeah,
What's happened to Ben Brown?
injured, I think.
He's injured.
I think.
Melbourne, I feel, are really lacking in key forwards, the likes of like a Tom Lynch or Jeremy Cameron. Like they've got Van Rooyen developing himself, but I feel like they've always had that question mark as to who that key forward is,
Well,
who can kick them that 50, 60 goals for the season.
I don't even think they need that kind of guy. I think they just need a strong bodied presence down there who can
Mm,
take a clunk down in the forward square. Um,
mm.
because I think that's just what they're missing. Like, almost like a Jared Roughhead.
Bailey Fritsch is really good
Rich is
still.
okay, but I don't think he does the job at all. Um,
Mm,
almost like a Mitch Lewis, what he's kind of turning into. Like if they added Mitch
mm,
Lewis, well, this would be a different team.
mm,
But yeah, I think that's one thing I think they're missing, and
mm,
the Grundy and Gorn experiment is, yeah, kind of exposing that a bit too.
mm.
Okay,
Anything else to say about that?
not really. No, Fremantle, surprisingly, the better side. For a lot of people. I mean, I've been saying this, but yeah,
Fremantle pushing for that final spot.
yeah, upsets sound down here. Uh,
Upset galore.
all round. But continuing that trend of upsets,
Mm.
down to the Cattery,
Ooh.
the Giants toppling the Cats, 10-14-74 to 12-9-81. Uh,
If Toby Green isn't the best small forward in the comp, who would you say is the better small forward?
Charlie Cameron maybe, but
Mm.
it's tough.
Toby Green's fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean the Giants outplayed the Cats all day today, or that
Mm.
day, on
Mm.
Saturday. They were just destroying him. I mean Toby Green,
Riccardi. I
fantastic.
know Riccardi played fantastically as well.
Riccardi got 3 goals. Yep. Daniels also got 3 goals.
Mm.
Um, Briggs with 34 hitouts. Hogan, surprisingly, another great game, 10 marks. So yeah, just outplayed most of the game, which is surprising because that's
Mm.
down in Geelong.
How'd you take the debutant for Geelong, the Irishman Mullen?
Um, I mean I didn't see this one, but I mean I don't think it's too bad, yes, at all.
Mm.
15 disposals, 3 marks, so not too bad. Um, of a shootout. Uh, I guess just a bit unlucky with the result. So hopefully it develops a bit more. But
Mm.
yeah, just been unlucky for him personally.
From what I saw from the game, Mullen's game was quite level-headed. He was very level-headed and very calm with ball in hand. Um, although, yes, he may be the Nick Dacos of the Gaelic Football League in Ireland. AFL is a completely different different sport and different different game to play, to be honest. Will he be that player that Zach Tui thinks he is? Possibly. But I do feel as though that hype around him being like another Nick Dacos is a bit early to say because I'd like to see more from him. Nothing against the bloke, he played fantastically, very level headed. Um, but moving forwards, can Zach Tui's comments be proven into action in game? And only time will tell with that.
Or I think he
Geelong,
definitely has potential.
he does,
Yeah.
no doubt about that. But Geelong really disappointing, um, losing at home. The Giants are on a winning streak there as well. That's 3 wins in a row at GMHBA for the Giants. So they do have history of beating the Cats there. Geelong just really disappointing. Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins not having their presence being felt. They're really lacking in that explosiveness that Dangerfield provided when he played. So it would be good to get him back ASAP. If you're a Cats fan. But at the same time, I'd like to congratulate Geelong in bringing in some new faces into the team to really improve in moving the club forward instead of relying upon the elder players. And it was the first time the Henry brothers played together, so congratulations to them as well. But moving forward, Geelong have a lot of work to do to make finals because it's been a long time since the both grand finalists of the previous year didn't make finals. And I'd like to see Geelong or Sydney make finals to really push for that second premiership or get some redemption on a grand final. Mm,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair enough. Sure. Um, yeah, a bit of a surprising result for sure, but I think,
mm,
yeah, you could have nailed it there. And credit to the Giants, of course.
mm,
Anything else
100%.
at this one?
Toby Green,
Totally green.
just Toby Green, the
Fair
goat
enough.
of the Giants, the goat of the Giants.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
for real. I mean, even just this one game, 9 marks, 4 goals. And he's been the one
Mm,
guy who's pretty much wanted to be there and consistently shown performances at the club
mm.
since its inception. So, yeah.
Good on you, Toby Green.
Yeah. Okay. Jumping over to Friday night. We had the Swans beating the Blues. We promised not to keep beating up the Blues too much. But six
Um,
six
I
goals, six
can't.
goals, 15-51. To 11-11-77. Um, the yeah, I mean Curnow had 1 goal, 3, and Mackay had 0-3. Uh, it was actually honestly pretty even for a whole time until that fourth quarter where the
Mm,
Swans ran away. To be fair, right? I'm not pushing this as Carlton spit the dummy, they
mm.
threw it away. It was pretty even nearly the whole time until the fourth quarter. So we won't push
I'm
ourselves ahead, but yeah,
I'm not gonna be bullish of Mackay. I have stated my thoughts on his set shots, and it was proven in this game as well. But now looking at it, how can he improve upon getting his confidence back? And is his question for you, Elijah, is the Kerno Mackay duo down forward working?
I have mixed feelings. I think
Mm,
Carlton, as a football club as it stands,
mm,
bit of an existential crisis, and this is going to be going on for the whole season, right? They play really, really good football. They can come off half
mm,
back, great. They can play through the midfield, great. They have no plan going
mm,
forward, in the forward line, and inside 50, they cannot convert goals.
mm,
The only issue is the forward line. I think it's the coaching. We know they
mm,
can play football, right? Mikai and Kerner both won
100%.
Coleman medals. We're gonna, putting that out there. They can play football. This team can play football. there's so much talent on this team. You almost say no excuse.
Mm.
Going for, no idea who's coaching this forward line, but I don't think
It's
it's not
Ash
working out.
Hansen.
Ash Hansen, okay. I
Ash
don't think it's
Hansen.
working out as well. Whether
Mm.
Voss is having a say in it or what, I don't know. But it looks like their game plan going to the 450 is bomb it long and hope someone grabs it.
There's no lowering of the eyes or being unique or really using the up of the 50
No,
or switching it.
no.
Just bomb it long.
And there's vision every single minute going forward where you have, we'll say, for example, Walsh taking the
Mm.
ball down, we'll say to the wing,
Mm.
and, you'll have an open guy right in the middle of the 50. He goes, okay, no, I want to go bang it long because Kerno's in the goal square. And he bangs it
Mm.
long, and then all of a sudden, Rampy takes a mark, and then, oh, we're defending now.
Mm.
So it's frustrating. As week in, week out, it's the same thing. I don't think we need to talk about it much more because it's the exact same thing as every week. It's just going forward, in the forward line, sorry. Same thing with Carlton. They just can't do anything. And I don't think the strategy's working. And the players are missing. Like, there's no
Mm.
need. Matthew Lloyd
Well,
did a really good deep dive on that over the last week too, with Mackay. Yeah, check that out.
Yeah, do check that out. That on the Sunday Footy Show. Shout out to the Sunday Footy Show. We're like frustrated parents talking about our son in Carlton. It's just frustrating to watch when we both know that they have a finals list. And I won't rap on about it anymore because we've both said it for the past couple of weeks or even a couple of months now. But all credit to Sydney. Sydney played fantastically, especially in that last quarter.
Yeah.
They really have given hope for finals, winning that game. But whether or not they can remain consistent is a question to be asked. But all in all, Sydney, fantastic. Carlton, just not there.
All right. And I don't want to talk about Carlton any longer.
Mm.
And if they play Melbourne next
Mm.
week, it's not going to be pretty. I don't know what I expect, but I want something to change. And I
Mm.
expect that one to be a pretty quick talk. But I mean, in theory, they get the job done. I mean, with
Mm.
Oliver out, I think Cripps and that is out too. Actually, there's fair few injuries on Carlton's
Mm.
side. I kind of jinxed it while watching the game. Because I remember I'm like, oh, they've got a few injuries. No, they're pretty
Mm.
healthy. And then a few guys go down. It's like, okay, I just jinxed them. Awesome.
Mm.
My bad, guys. But
I'd like to also say that Paddy McCartan is out for the rest of the season.
yeah, that's true.
So we do wish Paddy McCartan a speedy recovery, and I do hope that he would one day play footy again, but I find it highly unlikely because concussion is a very serious problem in the game at the moment, and with the amount of concussions that he's had over his career, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires at the end of the year.
Fair enough.
I do wish him a speedy recovery and the best for his future.
Yeah.
I do hope he can play footy again because he was fantastic playing down back with his brother. But I don't see him coming back from so much brain trauma to the point where he's pretty much gonna have some stroke. I wouldn't be surprised if he has some form of brain damage by the end of his AFL career, and in terms of quality of life as well. It's all about quality of life. So I do wish Paddy McCartan a speedy recovery on his head traumas.
So do we.
Mm.
Best of luck. But I mean, moving forward,
Mm.
I mean, yeah, Sydney, good win. Good to have that
Mm.
in your back pocket with the list you have and the injuries just total. Good to
Mm.
have. And I believe they have the bye this week. So it's a
Uh,
good week off.
Let me double check that.
They do.
Double 12. Yes, I do.
They'll do. We'll mention all the rest of the teams in a minute.
Yep.
But yep, good week off for them. And good week
Mm,
win going into that week. Credit to them.
good momentum.
Okay. Second last game. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about at least. Saturday night. Eagles hosting the Dons. As you'd expect, Dons kind of thrown through them. Don't think we talk about it so much.
I didn't watch this game whatsoever, but Essendon won by 50 points, and if anything, I was expecting Essendon to win by more and at least get over the 100-point mark. But at the end of the day, Essendon got the dub, didn't they? By 50 points. That's a pretty respectable margin.
Yeah, I mean, for West Coast, I mean, Duggan had 35 disposals, 12 marks. Hunt had 34 disposals. So I mean, yeah, there's a few guys statistically that are good, but Essendon, yeah, kind of was running away, as you'd
Mm,
expect. What do you do?
yeah, I've got nothing much to say about this game either.
We'll speed right through. We've talked enough about
Mm,
West Coast in past weeks anyway.
mm,
Granted, the mid-season draft will help. Um,
mm,
with the new guys, but yeah. Okay.
mm.
And last one on Sunday, Pies North. Some reason, no idea why, prime time. But yeah, Marvel Stadium, Pies 16,905 10,1070.
The big news to come out of this game for me was still side bottom 300 games, so congratulations on him. But I do hope he has a speedy recovery on his anterior injury to his knee. After only playing 10 minutes of his 300 games. But knowing him as a character and seeing the vision from that game, um, he's quite the positive bloke, and he was signing signatures, he was smiling. So he's not a self-centered player. He's a very team-oriented player. So even though I do congratulate him on that, I even more congratulate him on being that team player and really being that positive person that he always has been at that club. And I'd also like to congratulate Mason Cox on the 100 games he played. Um, Pretty good this game as well. But Collingwood just getting what they needed to do against North Melbourne. Josh Dacos with 3 goals. Um, I think someone else kicked 3 goals for Collingwood. But it's just the usual suspects for Collingwood
Yeah.
got at this point. And North Melbourne showed a bit of fight. They did show fight, actually. They did show plenty of fight, but Collingwood were just too good at the end of the day.
Yeah. My check was the other one of 3 goals from Collingwood.
My check.
Not a whole lot to wait this game, honestly. I do want to shout out a couple of players. Larky with
Mm.
5 goals from
Oof.
from North. Talk about Larky with 5 goals, and then Hugh Greenwood, with 11 tackles, 25 disposals. Both of those guys pretty good.
Mm.
And the fantasy heads out there, Hugh Greenwood, he's looking good too.
Mm.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But hey, Collingwood, this is Collingwood fashion. They did what they needed to
Mm.
do. Scoreline, I mean, I don't think it was really indicative of how the game went, but
Mm.
they did what they needed to do. Got the 4 points, done, dusted. Move on to next week.
100%.
Okay, that's it for
On
round
to
11
power rankings, your favorite segment.
for sure. I do enjoy these. Hopefully soon we can do them live with you. But we'll talk
Mm.
about a few of the major changes, and there's a lot.
Mm.
So,
You started off.
okay. So I guess one change is Port Adelaide going higher than Brisbane. That's the first one you see. Brisbane just losing to Adelaide. I mean, I guess in hindsight, you'd kind of expect it. Adelaide very, very
Mm.
good at home. Brisbane traveling, yeah. But I guess the way that Adelaide kind of dismantled them, kind of just nudged them
Mm.
down a bit. And Port Adelaide continuing really good form going into the following weeks. Bulldogs, even though they are lost, they're going up a bit. I think they still showed
Mm.
a lot of good heart in that Suns game. And full credit to the Suns. We could have easily put them into the top 8.
Mm,
Um, I think it's just a bit stiff. Especially because
mm,
I've been really high on the Suns for a few years now. But uh, if they're winning more high quality teams, definitely can see them rise up for sure.
mm,
Um, but Bulldogs, they're sitting in 4th. I think just a tad better, a bit of an off game compared to, I guess, the Crows, who are now in 5th. Obviously, as I've
mm,
discussed with Brisbane, that's why they're up there. Melbourne falling down a bit, losing to Fremantle. Fremantle just below them. Now, this is a bit controversial because Freo did beat Melbourne. This is
mm,
purely because I guess the home ground kind of played into it. I think if they played at a neutral ground, which wasn't in
mm,
Melbourne or Perth, Melbourne might maybe have the advantage. But I can see it argued either way. In the end, it was very
mm,
close, came down to the wire. Um, Towards the end, I know most of the game, Fremantle's just the edge better, but
mm.
yeah. Essendon finally moving to top 8 with Saints
Whoop,
and
whoop.
Cats moving out. So very nice. Um, I mean, yeah, as expected, dominant performance against a pretty lowly side. Mainly moving up because of their consistent performances, but also other teams showing a bit of weakness.
Mm,
Suns have already explained. The Saints falling out of the top 8. Now, you'd expect under Ross Lyon this team to get there, and they didn't,
mm,
which is sad, but it is what it is. They've been declining for a
mm,
while now, and I don't think we've clearly displayed that in the power rankings. So I think this is a bit clearer of an indicator where they're sitting.
mm,
I think if you play Giants Saints at a neutral ground right now, you could toss the coin.
mm.
So
It's really a make or break for the Saints at this point, isn't it?
yeah, I mean they're going to the bye next week, so that'll hopefully rejuvenate them a bit, and then they've got the
Mm,
Swans after that, in Sydney. So that'll be a good test after a bit of a rest to see if they've still got something left from the start of the season, which
mm.
hopefully they do. Because
We hope so
I
too.
want to see them play finals.
I do too.
Yeah,
It's been a long minute.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, they are in 5th right now, and we've got them in
Mm.
10th. So, but yes,
Um, Moving down, GWS and Geelong. GWS moving above Geelong, for obvious reasons, beating Geelong um in hostile territory, and Geelong just not being in form, similarly to how they started off the season. What is it, 3 losses in a row now? 2 losses. They're
well,
really.
Geelong started off the
Mm,
season poorly, got back up. It's only
mm,
been really recently they've kind of dropped off a bit, so it might be a
mm.
bit stiff, maybe. But I
So,
think purely because the Giants always show up, and they ended up being Geelong
mm,
this time, we've gone just a bit higher.
mm. Um, Geelong should be able to rise up the ranks, you'd hope, after these couple of bye rounds. Sydney, who have the bye this week, they move up slightly, but they need to show better performances against the better teams to make us decide Sydney to move up on the rankings. Obviously, um, putting up a pretty good performance against Carlton, but like I said, we'd like to see a better performance
Injuries
against a
don't help.
better
Yeah,
team, and injuries as well. Who's next? Hawthorn. Hawthorn
surprising.
rising up exponentially because they've just been in great form as of late compared to the likes of Richmond and Carlton, who are somewhat untrustworthy at the moment. Um, if you were to play Hawthorn against Richmond or Carlton, we'd probably say Hawthorn have the upper hand due to the fact that they have competitive nature to them, and Hawthorn just have a bit more consistency compared to Carlton and Richmond. You agree with me on that, Elijah?
Kind of. I think there's a lot of
Mm,
teams that I'd just take over Carlton because they're so inconsistent
mm,
going forward.
mm,
When they can start getting that going, great.
mm,
But I think Richmond and Hawthorn are a bit closer than we think. I
mm,
think newer coach, Richmond's still sorting it out. Could go either way if they played, but
mm,
Hawthorn they rock up every week, similar to the Giants. Um,
mm,
but 2 wins of the trot now, and against a team who I think was in the top four coming into the game.
mm,
And now they're in fifth. They're putting in some really good form against some good teams, and
mm,
they're healthy, which is great. So hopefully, knock on wood,
mm,
that they stay healthy. But they're looking good, and I mean, all credit to all the people down there. Um,
mm,
but I also don't want to discredit Richmond for what they've done so far. Um,
mm,
but I mean, they're 15th on the ladder right now, 14 points, only a draw above Hawthorn,
mm,
and percentage. So
mm.
yeah,
And North Melbourne just above West Coast. West Coast being the lower team, mainly due to injuries, playing a factor into why the Eagles aren't doing as well as they should be, even though we do expect them to finish last either way. North Melbourne just showing a lot more fight. I guess even against Collingwood only losing by 35, they're really showing a bit of growth compared to West Coast where they're just stagnant, have a lot of injuries, and just losing by heaps
yeah,
against all oppositions.
yeah. I mean, West Coast currently on the ladder, only one win,
Mm,
54.8%.
mm.
Okay, let's move on
Predictions.
to predictions for next round. I will keep this nice, short, quick, simple, so we can get out of here.
Mm,
Okay, starting off Friday night, D's Blues MCG.
days.
D's. I don't think we're doing this one too much. Oliver is
Mm,
out. I think through the midfield, Carlton's a bit better, but I don't trust him going forward.
mm,
Um, but in saying that, that's I think very small tweaks they can make. So if they make those tweaks, it could be a way better game than we expect.
mm,
And how Pitt and Net rocks up, best tap ruckman in the comp. How he fares against Gorn and Grundy, interesting. So
mm.
yeah, but D's,
Agreed.
but D's.
Mm,
Hopefully they get back into good form soon.
mm.
Saturday, Adelaide Oval, Power hosting Hawthorn.
Power should win easily, but Hawthorn will put up a fight as always.
Yep, I have Port too, but yeah, I wouldn't write Hawthorn off too
Mm.
fast. Speeding through. Uh, Eagles hosting Collingwood.
Pies.
Yeah, easy, done. Collingwood. Uh, Interesting one here. So we talked about how Cats wanted to get into better form, bouncing off a loss. They go over to Marvel Stadium to play the Bulldogs on
I've got the
Saturday
Bulldog.
night. Yeah,
I've got the Bulldogs winning.
yeah. I have Bulldogs too. I'm just a bit wary. It's they like playing the similar grounds Geelong. This is one of those
Mm,
grounds where they have the opportunity to do that.
mm,
They could do something. Yeah, I'm not saying they will, but
mm,
both of these teams coming off a loss, there could be something from either
mm.
side.
Whichever team wins this one really helps their case moving forwards to making the top eight.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think
Mm,
Dogs pretty cemented in there. But
mm,
yeah, it'd be very handy to have those extra
mm.
4 points. Okay. Over to still on the Saturday night. Sorry. Odds for this one dead even, but I think
Mm,
it's Alice Springs T10 Stadium. Or maybe it's on Darwin. I can't remember. But Suns and Crows dead even
mm.
odds.
I actually don't know. I've gut feeling says the Suns.
I originally tipped the Crows. My gut's starting to say Suns too. Um,
Mm.
I'll be real. Only reason to be in Crows is because otherwise I only have one away tip this week, and that is scary. So I'm like, you know what? If I need another away tip, I'm going Crows.
Crows is a very good choice,
They looked very good last
but
week.
Suns also unpredictable. They could. Then they've shown that they have good form and they've got fantastic players who can really put it up against another youthful team in the Crows. So it could go either way, but my gut feeling is the Suns.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that both teams very, very good form, coming off very, very
Mm,
strong wins. I mean, I
mm,
wouldn't call 9 points a strong win for the Suns, but it's against the Bulldogs as playing up.
mm,
I'll take that. So could go either way. I think in Alice
mm.
Springs, but yeah, that's on Saturday night. Okay, over to the Sunday, Giants Stadium, GWS hosting Richmond.
I've got the Giants winning this.
I do too.
Giants, Giants. I feel as though they have more competitive nature. They've got more lethalness moving forwards compared to Richmond at the moment.
Mm.
And obviously they've got home territory as well. Richmond's going into hostile territory, so that's why I've got the Giants winning.
Yep. I mean, if it's the MCG, I think it'd be closer. So I
Mm,
still wouldn't rule Richmond out. Once again, new coach, new
mm,
system, but yeah, I've got Giants too.
mm.
Okay, and the last one, Essendon hosting North Melbourne.
Essendon, North Melbourne in the past have always been high scoring. I've got the Bombers winning though.
I do have the Bombers. However, I'm not counting on North Melbourne. This is, you know, I I feel like this has the chance to be a very winnable game for North Melbourne. They only lost
Mm,
by 30 against Collingwood, you know? So if they put up the same
mm,
fight, it's at Marvel, not the MCG, still at Marvel, I think they can definitely do something here. I'm not ruling
mm,
them out at all. I reckon this might be a ripper of a contest.
mm.
I do have Essendon though, in saying that.
I do have Essendon as
But
well.
I would, but yeah, I'd definitely turn my notifications on for that game
Mm.
and tune if possible. Uh,
Um,
and then yeah, four teams with the bye. Sorry, just to wrap that up: Brisbane, Fremantle, St Kilda, Sydney, all of the bye. They'll be
mm.
back in round 13. You're saying?
UBE. Now, I don't really have anything funny or frustrated to talk about. I don't really have any frustrations, but I'd like to move on to player of the round. And my player of the round was Nick Blakey. Nick Blakey, aka the Lizard, the man with no shoulders. He glides along the turf of the SCG on Friday night quite swiftly. He is breaking lines. He's unique. He can kick the ball at fast pace. Um, and he's like your Sarge, but just a bit more spice to it. He can win his own ball. He just is unique. He's very unique. And if I had him in my defense, I'd be very happy because you know what you're going to get out of his kick 75 to 90% of the time. It's mostly going to hit his target. And and the main reason I have him as the best player of this round, in my opinion, is because he just broke the lines. He broke lines and set up goal.
Yeah. I mean, he was one of the main reasons why the Swans won on the weekend.
Mm.
Just coming off half back, ruining those matchups with. I can't remember who was on. I think it
He was
was
on Kerno for a
Makono.
period of time.
I think Makono or Makai.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, but I mean, he perhaps says Durden, but he played really well either way. Coming off the back
Mm.
line, the way he moved the ball was really good.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean,
It's unique as well. We don't see players take on the game as much as he does.
No, not at all.
Because the only player that comes to mind is Sard when he does have the opportunity to take on the game.
Yeah, I
But I feel
guess.
like Blakey has more confidence and he can bust through tackles. The thing that I saw is he can bust through tackles, whereas Sard is very reluctant. He's more going into space.
Well,
Whereas I feel like Blakey can break those tackles.
Sard's a bit older
Um,
now,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm still not used to his posture. But yeah, good pick. Nick Blakey from the Swans.
He looks weird when he runs, doesn't he?
I think it's just his posture and it's his physique. It's just
Mm.
a bit different to everyone else. But hey,
It's
I'm not dissing him. He's balling out there for sure.
very fitting nickname as well, the Lizard.
Yeah. Onto my player of the week.
Mm.
Or the round. James Sicily from Hawthorn.
Mm.
Talked about him before. You know, his 16 marks, 43 disposals. His stats are everywhere. Go look him up.
Mm.
He's brilliant.
Mm.
Outstanding games. I don't know what else to say. He was the general back there. He stopped the Saints from being in it. And, you know, Hawks. Hey.
And go Hawks. Don't forget that one
Like,
tackle.
and then one tackle. Yeah, we'll take that.
One tackle. Final messages. My final message is the racism saga at Hawthorn has finally come to an end. All the hardship that Clarkson and Chris Fagan have been put through has come to an end. And I'm very happy as a Hawthorn and a fan of Chris Fagan and Clarkson to say that it has taken, even though it has taken too long, it is relief to see that it has finally come to an end.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the AFL has said it's put an end to it.
Mm,
I think I'd still like to know who actually pushed forward the allegations. But at least the
mm,
AFL, as you know, as it is over the clubs, has put its foot down and said they're ending it.
mm,
They might be pushing more sanctions onto Hawthorn, salary cap, well not salary cap, but fines, possibility, which I guess Damien Barrett's been pushing for,
mm,
with draft capital being taken away. But I mean, I don't know. It's over in the AFL's eyes, and if that means we get less annoyance by the press, I guess I'll take it.
mm,
I mean, it's not because with the club and the individual, I guess it's not over, but from the AFL's
mm,
perspective, it is. So that's something
mm,
at least. Whether it deserves to be or
mm.
not, I don't know, but yeah.
It would be interesting to see which, because I'm pretty sure it was a player, it was definitely player or players who suggested that there was some racial segregation or racial remarks being pushed towards those
Indigenous player.
players, Indigenous players.
Yeah. I know it wasn't
So
Burgoyne. That's all I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would be
Okay.
very disappointing to see whether or not it was Cyril Rioli. Because Cyril Rioli's great of the game. Um, there's players like I'm trying to think of Aboriginal players. Chance Bateman. I doubt what would
He
have
wasn't
happened to
around.
Chance Bateman. Wasn't around.
I don't think so.
Jed Anderson.
I have no idea. Oh,
Jed Jed.
I wouldn't know.
It's
I
just
don't know if Jed Evanston is even there at that point. I have no idea.
it's very disappointing to see that the person who has put even though it's okay to remain anonymous, now that it's all over in AFL's eyes, it would be good to see people move forward and say, this is why I said what I said, instead of just hiding in the shadows.
Well, I think it gives the story a bit more validity too.
Mm,
You say, "Oh, this is me. This is my story. This is what happened." It gives just a bit more validity
mm,
than well, it kind of feels like it's just kids in the playground pointing fingers from all sides. I'm not saying one's right, one's not.
Mm.
It just feels like,
There's always two sides to a story, isn't there?
this one it feels like there's even more. I mean, you have people pointing fingers at Clarko, and then Clarko pointing fingers at the Hawthorn board, seemingly, and then it's everywhere. So I don't know, but
It's very hard to dismantle this one, isn't it?
anyway, yes. Anything else?
Nothing else from my end.
Cool. Okay.
And that's where we will leave it. Thank you for tuning in. We have our Twitter, YouTube, so on and so forth down there. Please give us a follow. Please click the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And that is Jacob and Elijah from the Premiership Podcast out.
Thank you.